So we've done step number 1, observe the text. What's it mean to them? The ancient culture, the ancient people. Step number 2, we've now interpreted the text for us as a community of believers in the 21st century. We've bridged the gap between them and us. The third thing is correlation. How does it correlate to them and us? In other words, the word to use here is all. Them, us, all, everybody. So how does this transcend, or how is this theologized, if you like? This is a big word that is timeless for the ancient culture and for us today. What are the principles that relate and connect and are meaningful for them and for us? The time of Malachi, the book of Malachi, okay? It's a prophetic book that speaks about the ancient culture of Israel in desolation. The temple was destroyed, its city in ruins. The priests and the Levites aren't doing what they should do in their forms of worship and going to the temple and the duties that God asked for them and the delight that they and privilege that they had in worshiping God in this time. They had put that all to the side. They're living lives for themselves. They're in bondages to sin. They've been exiled, and so they have forgotten many of the ways in which God had instructed them. That's the ancient text. What is the theological principle that helps us today? In other words, how does that correlate to us? Well, we don't have a temple. We don't sacrifice animals. We are not priests dressed in robes, although some are today in some contexts. We are not having always the same forms of duties and lighting the lamps and having the showbread, for instance. We don't have all these sort of rituals and duties, but what do we have? Okay, so this is the interpretive process number 2 that I talked about before. Okay, we do have the body of believers. We are the church. We do have the ability to worship God. We do have the ability to put Him first. We do have the ability to have His presence living in our lives, okay? So that's how we broke down them and us. So now when we're establishing step number 3, that correlation, that process for what it means to all, we're simply basically making a theological principle that connects ancient to us, to everybody. We can worship. We can put Christ at the center of our lives. We can restore our worship and put Him first in our family, in our finances. We can not neglect these things that God has called us to do in our time, in our period. That's a simple theologizing, if you like, of connecting the ancient to us today. It's a gap that bridges the original meaning of the text. In other words, to provide a timeless principle that transcends ancient and modern culture would simply to say, restore, return to your first love, put God at the center, His presence, His truth, His word of your family, of your own life, of your business, of your finances. Return to worshiping Him in the fullest sense of what that means. That is there. That's theologizing. What you've done there is correlate the ancient text to modern times. That's step number 3, correlation, what it means to all of us.